Have you ever noticed the more peace you find, the more it seems to bother people? The quieter you become, the more it makes people uncomfortable, almost as if your calm is a mirror for their chaos. I've learned that when you start protecting your peace, people who were once comfortable with your availability start calling it distant or you're being disconnected. But here's the truth. Your peace will offend people who are at war with themselves. Now, I know that is a bold statement, but it's the God's honest truth. How prepared are you to handle your peace and how it's going to land on those around you? Are you going to defend it? Are you going to dictate whether others let you have peace in your life or not? And what is your source of peace? Is it a daily massage or is it the source that kind of surpasses all understanding? Today's episode dives into how to seek peace and how to press through with blinders with kindness still in your heart if there are those in your life who are trying to sabotage it. So let's talk a little bit about something that happens in midlife. There's kind of an interesting kill switch that seems to happen. I'd like to think that after half a lifetime of working, climbing, achieving, parenting, loss of hormoning, we tap out. And there's kind of a realignment that takes place, and it leaves those around us a bit dumbfounded. You hear words like reinvention and transformation thrown around. And yeah, those are legitimate descriptors of what's happening. And there's more to that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But before all of that, there's more of a subtle shift that arises. Sometimes peace doesn't look like a candlelit morning. It can look like disconnection, and it can be a little startling to those in your life. It's choosing calm over confrontation, and yeah, sometimes it's being misunderstood. I remember for me, and I've shared my journey a little bit, but it started in my mid 40s. There was this shift that I felt happening personally. I was going through perimenopause. I was not sleeping well. I was really stressed out, working three jobs at once. You know, my news anchor job, I had started as a content creator. I was also working on my book, Life Makeover. I was, a stepmom to many and had a big full house. And there was just a lot going on. And I found that I was clawing at trying to feel okay in me, that there was not a moment of peace, not a moment of quiet, not a moment of rest. Even at nighttime, I couldn't seem to catch a break. I couldn't get any rest because of just the hormone depletion that was taking place inside of me. And I think that, we all go through menopause and all of our journeys through it are vastly different. I think oftentimes what's happening in our lives will impact the type of menopause that we have, how high our cortisol levels are, how much we're juggling. All of those things weigh into it. But I remembered getting so angry and frustrated with the fact that I couldn't rest. And rest was something I always coveted. It was like I was a skilled sleeper once upon a time in my life. I was a professional. I could get a solid 8 hours, not need earplugs, not need, total darkness, all the things that I need now. I could just lock in and go. And it was always something that gave me such joy. It was like no matter what was happening in my day, I knew at nighttime I could rejuvenate and I could feel good. And I know you can relate to this, that when sleep starts to deceive you and betray you, you feel like this rug has been pulled out from underneath you. And we all know what happens when we don't get a good night's rest, right? But then you start accumulating that and you have this, day, two, three, and now suddenly you feel like a train wreck and you feel like everything else in your life is it's a ripple effect. It's cascading and you can't catch your breath and you can't catch a break. And now you're moody and you're irritable. And that applies to all things and all people. And I knew for me that in order to feel some sense of peace, there had to be rest. And rest was this whack-a-mole game. I mean, it took a while to figure out. It was hormone regulation. It was enough estrogen and progesterone. It was mindset. It was prayer. It was quiet. It was meditate. It was a practice. My sleep, which was this gift, was now becoming this practice. But I knew how important it was because without it, there would be zero peace in my life. Zero. And I went, and I'm sure you're nodding your head too. We've all been through these phases, and maybe some of you are still going through it. And you're scratching your head thinking, can I just feel rested? Can I please? It will give me that kind of peace to be able to press through. To me, that was the first and biggest part of the puzzle when it came to curating peace in my life, especially in midlife as I was entering this season. And I knew it had to happen in order for me to be good or effective in any other area of my life, any other. And it's definitely been a journey and a formula and figuring out, but it's, to me, the most important. We all know the health impact, the health consequences of not getting rest and what that can do. So for me, rest equates to peace. Peace is rest. It all lies hand in hand. The other things that I started noticing in myself was a shift in stimuli, a shift in the things that I used to like and that used to bring me joy that no longer brought me joy. Here's a prime example. For a while, I would work out in a group setting at a gym, work out with a personal trainer on and off. And I was finding that in that setting, I was starting to grow a little frustrated and weary with all the noise and all the chatter. That I was overwhelmed with noise and chatter in my life from all directions. And now I'm going to a gym and there are people around me, nice enough and kind enough and well intentioned, yes, but lots of talking, lots of chatter, lots of talking with the person, with whom I'm working out. And I felt drained at the end of my workout. Not in the way I felt like my mouth was sometimes getting more of a workout than my body, and it wasn't serving me anymore. And I really didn't know what I wanted at the time until a friend of mine took me to an exercise class where I was led through an entire exercise, and it was quiet, and the only person talking was the instructor. And it wasn't until I did that I realized that my nervous system and my sensory system had been overloaded. And even though I needed that movement in my life, which also is another element to peace, is physicality and the importance of movement, the importance of using your body, exhausting your body, treating it with respect and honoring the movement that it needs in order to be healthy. That had to happen, but I was finding that it had to happen in a different way for me. And it wasn't until I tried something new and got outside the box. I also started swimming more at that time. Being in the water was very, very joyful for me. So, noticing these things and being willing to try new things, honoring what's no longer serving you and working for you. And you know what? Saying that that's okay. We don't owe ourselves or others an explanation for why we need to pivot. It's just that we do, and we can do it with grace and just say, you know what? I've done this. I've done this for a long while. It was great. It's not serving me anymore. I really want to try this or do that. And it was feeling a current and not resisting that current anymore. And I felt like that's what I had been doing for so long, was being that salmon upstream, just fighting it, resisting it, willing it. And it wasn't until I started to let go and my faith started to play a big role in this and let God move in my life more, listen to have that wisdom and discernment a little bit more, that I started honoring some unique callings to address what it is that could bring me to a place of peace. And I knew it had to happen. And I knew that the changes in me might or might not be received well by others. And that therein lies the tricky part, is oftentimes we are, I wouldn't say fearful, but as women and as people who tend to keep it all together, keep the family unit together, keep everybody happy, make sure that all of these things are addressed, from our spouses to our children to our parents. We're constantly managing and massaging and making sure everybody's doing okay. So now, how will these changes in me affect the nucleus around me? Will they understand? Will they respect? Will they honor what it is that I'm trying to do for me in the name of peace? And I'm here to tell you, not everybody will. And that's okay. And I know that sounds really weird to hear. And I know that's a really strange place to be as women who tend to figure it out for everybody else. For me to sit here and tell you, you know what? You're trying to figure this out for you. It's a process, and not everybody's going to understand what the heck you're doing. And that's got to be okay. That is a strange place for a lot of women. But I'll tell you what, this place where we are in midlife, if you don't start honoring what it is that is being put in you to cultivate some peace and quiet and reflection and understanding and prayer, you will flame out faster than I know what to do with you. Okay. It is that important. And I'm going to talk about some other things too. Before I do, I want to throw in some scripture verses that I love that help in this way. And I also want to throw in some prompts for you. This is very important. And I've done these as well. Scripture reminds us, seek peace and pursue it. That's Psalm 34:14. It doesn't say explain it. It doesn't say defend it. It says pursue it. I believe when God begins a work of peace in your life, not everybody's going to understand. Some may say you're disinterested. Some will call it change. I like to think of it as growth. It is the kind that is protected and not performed. Think about that. This is protected growth. Here are some prompts for you. Where are you trying to cultivate peace in your life right now? Who in your life feels unsettled by your peace? And are you allowing their discomfort to pull you back into noise that you have already outgrown? Take a moment, jot those down, and spend some time on that. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the fact that silence isn't weak, and we'll be right back. You know that feeling when you step on the scale and suddenly your mood changes for the whole day? And I'm not talking for the better. Look, I've been there. We've all been there. But lately, I've made a mindset shift. I stopped focusing on the number and I started focusing on how I feel in my own skin. And that's why I am so excited about Creatone from Brickhouse Nutrition. It's created by doctors specifically for women to help reshape and rediscover your body's true potential. Here's what makes it different. Creatone helps you look more toned, defined, and sculpted without increasing your diet or exercise. Yeah, you heard me right. Without changing your routine. Now, this isn't your typical guy's creatine. Creatone is formulated just for women using pure creatine and patented ingredients that help your body look leaner, trimmer, and stronger without the water retention, without the weight gain, and without the bulky look. What I love most is how it helps boost metabolism naturally, giving you that extra support to burn fat while feeling energized and confident. It's about feeling powerful in your own body and not letting a number define your worth. So if you're ready to break up with your bathroom scale and finally see what your body can do, try Creatone today. Let's get you started with 20% off your first order. Visit tonetoday.com and use my code Flourishing for your discount. Again, use my code Flourishing to save 20% at tonetoday.com. That's TONE today.com. I have really come to understand how much our health starts at the cellular level. As I've gotten older, I could feel my energy dipping. My sleep was changing. Even my skin and joints needed more support. And it turns out that is something that scientists call cellular fragility syndrome. That's why I was really intrigued when I discovered Fatty 15. A team of doctors working alongside the US Navy spent more than a decade developing this pure, optimized C15 ingredient that helps repair and protect our cells as we age. And now that I've been taking it, I can honestly feel the difference. My sleep is deeper, my focus sharper, and there's just this sense of balance in my body again. It's like my cells are saying, thank you. What I love is that Fatty 15 has 3 times more cellular benefits than omega-3 or fish oil. And 72% of people notice improvements within just a few months. Everything from smoother joints to healthier hair, skin, and nails. It's clean, it's vegan, and it comes in this beautiful reusable glass and bamboo jar with simple refills that are shipped right to your door. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help support your long term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/flourishing and use code flourishing at checkout. Fall style is all about layering, and there is no better base layer than high quality, comfortable shapewear. Whether you're dressing up for a night out, maybe a wedding, or getting cozy in sweaters and boots, what's underneath really matters because the right shapewear makes everything look and feel better. And that's why I love Honey Love, the brand redefining modern shapewear with real comfort and serious support. Their targeted compression works with your body and not against it, sculpting where you want support and, of course, easing up where you might need a little flexibility. Look, I'll admit, I used to think shapewear was miserable. I wore it all the time when I worked in the news, but the first time I tried Honey Love, I was blown away. It actually moves with you. No rolling, no adjusting. It stays perfectly in place thanks to the flexible boning in the side seams. It's also breathable, beautiful, and confidence boosting. Their superpower short is a total game changer, you guys. Supportive, flattering, and yes, even bathroom friendly, thanks to the clever gusset design. Once you try it, I promise you, you are never going back. Ever. Treat yourself to the most comfortable shapewear on earth, and you'll save 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/over50. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/over50. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Experience the new standard in shapewear with Honey Love. Welcome back to Your Peace Will Offend People. Sorry, not sorry. And oh, by the way, silence isn't weak. There is strength in quiet. Think about this. We live in such a loud world, constant opinions, endless updates, everything's broadcast, but silence, it is sacred. Silence says, I don't have to prove it. It says, I'm not explaining what God has resolved in my spirit. Silence says, I've made peace with it, and that is enough. For so many women, especially in midlife, there is this temptation to overshare or over-explain, as if somehow people will understand more if we take one sentence and turn it into 10. But let your peace speak for itself. And one area that I want to address in this is gossip. And I know this may be coming out of left field, but look, I'm going to talk heart to heart, woman to woman here, because I worked in an industry where gossip was like on a news cycle 24/7. It was nonstop. And, I have some thoughts about talking about others. And it happens no matter who you are, no matter what you do. It doesn't matter. Gossip is something from the dawn of time that we have endured. We've either been participants or we have been targets of gossip. And I am I have had a real epiphany about that for a couple of reasons. First of all, having been the subject of gossip for I think as long as I can remember, for whatever reasons, um, it strikes a real personal chord. It has been relentless. It has been never ending. And it could be to somebody who is not accustomed to dealing with it, or let's just say hasn't found the right way to process it, it could be all consuming. I'm grateful that's not the case for me. But here's where I feel convicted and what I want to share. And that is, I'm not some innocent victim here. I once upon a time participated, and my mindset was, well, if they're going to take shots at me, they're open game. So, I reflect upon the days when, the chatter was nonstop, whether it was about me or whether it was, me and my friend group at work talking about others. It was cruel and relentless, and it was ungodly, and it was unkind. And I never, I I know my heart, and I know that I never ever said anything or did anything that was very, very harmful to anybody. But I do remember talking about others, and I remembered not feeling good about myself in the process. And as time went by, and I would attend church more regularly, and there were even conversations about it. And I thought to myself, this is so right. And it's interesting how being in an industry and being in a place where it is rampant, and it's it's like the news industry and the entertainment industry tends to breed a lot of insecurity. So there's just an enormous amount of chatter period about other people. And I came to this epiphany that it's very easy to talk about others, but it's way more challenging and way more interesting to talk about ideas and concepts. And that's where my heart always was. I love big picture thinking. I like to analyze. I like to ask questions. It's probably why I was drawn to the industry that I was in, was this desire to ask the different questions, to get the different answers, and to have a better and broader understanding of things. So that's not readily available. When you think about the people you encounter and you think about the conversations, how often does it go to that? How often does somebody sit there and say, you know what, let's talk about this. Let's talk about something deep or meaningful, or when was the last time you were around people and instead of talking about, oh, this or that, or I've been vacations and the children and oh, la 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 la, you know, that level of conversation, how refreshing would it be for someone to just say, you know what, I'm just having a tough day today. I'm not feeling it. I am frustrated with this. I am struggling with that. This is a challenge for me, and I'm praying about it, but I'm just having a day. Man, I'll tell you what. That kind of talk, that kind of conversation, I am dialed in. I am there. Let's go after it. Let's talk about the real, the meaningful, and get off of this superficial layer. And I realized that it made me understand that it's very easy to talk about others. It's news. News is about people. It's about people, it's about situations, and it's so easy to talk about people and situations, but it's not where change takes effect. It's not where ideology lives and breathes. It's not where faith lives. That is for sure. And as time went by, I just got more and more convicted. And then I made the decision that I would no more talk about anybody else, even even if it were, in a lighthearted way or in a way that seemed benign. And there's a difference, I think, between sharing, let's say, with your husband or your sister, something that is happening in the family dynamic. But instead of doing it in a catty or a mean spirited way, it's like, well, I feel this, always from a place of I feel and how maybe somebody's behavior impacted you. But it's never in a finger pointing or an outward direction. It always comes from a place of I feel this. And then it's no longer gossip, but it's how behavior lands on you, and most importantly, if you actually address it with the person from where it originated. I just feel that, and I say this because I think women need to hear this, and I see it in the comment section. I see what the culture has done to people. I see their blogs and forums and this and that just thrive on gossip, thrive on misinformation. And the root of that is jealousy. The root of that is discontent internally. And instead of pointing the finger towards self, it's pointing the finger outward. And it's very, very difficult to look inward and to acknowledge and own what it is about you that's allowing you to trash and tarnish somebody else. So I put this in here because there is zero peace in gossip. There is zero peace in the focus of somebody else's life. Zero. You are not doing yourselves any favor. You are not doing the world a favor. You are not getting yourself anywhere near a place and a posture and a position of peace by spewing any type of vitriol, shade. Even if you don't think it's all that harmful, it's harmful. Even if you know the other person will never hear a word that you're saying, you hear it. That is internal turmoil. That is internal disorientation. And it will bring you about as far from peace as you can possibly go. So I say that because I was once there. I was once a participant, I would say to a lesser degree than a lot of what I saw around me, but it doesn't matter. It convicted me. I knew it wasn't right. And the closer I grew in my relationship with the Lord, those chains were released. And it was a conscious decision to not go there, to not gossip, to not talk about others. It's unkind. It's ungodly. It is not right, and it will not bring you a sense of calm in your life or make you feel good about yourself. You may think in the moment, you and your girlie talking about somebody else, that you got a little packed, but newsflash, the minute you hang up that phone, guess who's being talked about? You. So if you think you're immune, you're not. And I bring that up because I think that is a very, very important part when it comes to cultivating peace, along with not over explaining, as I mentioned earlier, what it is that you're doing in your life, why you're cultivating peace, why you're no longer participating in the gossip, why you are looking to set aside 5-10 minutes to sit in a corner and to read, to have your alone time, to pray, to read your Bible, to read a book, to whatever it may be. It's as simple as, I need this for me. I hope you can understand that. I'm doing this to better love myself and to better love you. The end. You don't need a paragraph to explain to anybody why that is happening. Proverbs 17:27. This is a great one. The one who has knowledge uses words with restraint, and whoever has understanding is even-tempered. So that right there is quiet strength, and that's what I consider grace under control. Here are some reflections and things to jot down in this segment. Where are you being invited to embrace silence, not as avoidance, but as alignment? How can you use quiet to let God's voice become louder in the world's noise? Why is silence uncomfortable for you? What are you afraid of hearing? That's going to take some work, I think. That's a tough one for all of us to answer. We're going to take a quick break. The next little segment is stop calling it a phase. It is a transformation. We'll be back right after this. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in midlife is that flourishing starts from within, and that includes your gut. We hear so much now about how our gut microbiome affects everything: our digestion, our mood, our immunity, even our energy levels. It really is the foundation of overall wellness. That's why I've made gut health a priority, and I started taking Ritual's Symbiotic Plus. It is a 3-in-1 powerhouse with prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics. They all work together to support a balanced gut microbiome. I've noticed a real difference: less bloating, better digestion, and just feeling more in sync. It's amazing how much lighter you can feel when your body is working the way it's meant to. And what I love the most about Ritual is that they do things right. Their products are vegan, non-GMO, and third-party tested for heavy metals and allergens. I trust what I'm putting in my body, and that peace of mind matters to me. Plus, the delayed release capsule is designed to reach the colon. That's where probiotics actually survive and thrive. It even has a refreshing mint scent. You can take it with a meal or without, any time of day. It's so easy. And here's something else I didn't realize. It's HSA, FSA eligible, so you can save when you shop with pre-tax dollars. So get your gut going. Support a balanced gut microbiome with Ritual's Symbiotic Plus. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/over50. That's ritual.com/over50 for 25% off your first month. You know that moment at 5 p.m. when you just open the fridge and stare, hoping something will magically cook itself? Yeah, I've been there more times than I can count, but thankfully, I found something that completely changed dinner in our house. This podcast is sponsored by Tovala. It is a smart meal delivery service that pairs fresh, chef crafted meals with a smart oven that literally cooks them for you. No, I'm not kidding. You scan the meal's QR code, you pop it in the oven, and it does the rest. It steams, it bakes, it broils, whatever that dish needs, and it does so perfectly. No guesswork, no cleanup. The other night, I made this petite filet mignon and garlic herb shrimp surf and turf. It was delicious. And what I love is how much time it saves. I can finally eat real, wholesome food, not takeout, not microwave meals, and still have my evenings free. And the meals, well, they taste homemade with real, fresh ingredients. Plus, this oven is genius. It even knows how to cook store-bought groceries like Eggo waffles or cinnamon rolls. Okay, how brilliant is that? For a limited time, because you are a Flourishing listener, you can save up to $300 on the Tovala Smart Oven when you order meals 6+ times by heading to tovala.com/flourishing and use my code flourishing. That's up to $300 off when you head to tovala.com/flourishing and use promo code flourishing. One last time, TOVALA.com. Make sure to use my promo code flourishing for up to $300 off the Tovala Smart Oven. Remember, with Tovala, dinner is taken care of. Getting a good night's rest is going to be a common theme here. It matters to me, and I know it matters to you. Sometimes we just put our heads down on our pillows, and I'll tell you what, the mind just gets racing. Over and over, we think about things that we didn't do today or need to do tomorrow, and we just can't shut off the brain. Can I direct you to the Calm app? I love it. It helps with sleep, anxiety, and stress. It is the #1 app for sleep and meditation, and it gives you the power to calm your mind and change your life. I love the sleep stories, sleep meditations, and calming music at night that really helps me to drift off to a restful sleep quickly and naturally. They have guided meditations that you can do during the day. Those really help you work through anxiety and stress, boost your focus, build healthy habits, and just take better care of your overall physical well-being. There are grounding exercises as well as expert-led talks if you're possibly dealing with grief in your life or you want to improve relationships, and so much more. Calm has an exclusive offer just for listeners of our show. Get a 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/over50. This is an amazing value. Go to calm.com/over50 for 40% off unlimited access to Calm's entire library. Calm.com/over50 and tell Calm that you heard about them from me. Welcome back. Sorry to say your piece is going to offend people. I say that with a smile because been there, done that. Um, how many times have you heard, oh, it's just a phase. She'll snap out of it. Let me tell you, this is not a phase. It is a transformation. Midlife isn't about losing yourself. It is about returning to yourself. It's kind of the sacred unlearning of everything that you kept small, all the tasks that you kept performing, acknowledging what exhausted you. Now you crave simplicity, you crave truth. You're not looking for approval anymore. It's about clarity. It's about wisdom. You're not pulling away from life. You're actually preparing for your next assignment. That's how I look at it. I get it all the time. I mean, comments about my prayer life, my hair life, my I don't care life. People see it in me. Romans, let me read this to you. This is a great one. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed by this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That is exactly what this season is. It is renewal. It's not regression. You're not having a breakdown. You're actually breaking through. And I think that's what, people have seen in me in the past couple of years. And there has been a mixed reception to this transformation in my life. I think there are a lot of people who've been with me from the beginning. And, when a lot of people came on board, it was 2014 and I was a news anchor and, I had the little bob and I wore sheath dresses and I was doing the makeup all the time. And, my life looked a certain way. And as I was trying to seek peace and find my voice and to be heard and understood and respected and honored for who I am as a human being and not what I am or my performance or my title and all of those things that were definers about me by other people in my life who, supposedly loved me. Um, I just wanted to be loved for me. I wanted to be heard for my voice and what my voice had to say about things, or at times not say about things, right? Because there is this interesting thing about peace, and that is, and midlife too. We have a voice and we have things that we have to and need to articulate. But we've also reached a point in our lives where we don't have to have every word. And sometimes we like to step back and pull back and get away from the noise and get away from the chatter and have discernment as to the types of people that we want in our lives. These are conversations that I have with women all the time, especially the ladies on the group trips when I travel, to Bali, to Ireland, to Greece. Lots and lots of conversation about this metamorphosis that takes place at this stage in life. And it's a sharpening, it's a refining, and it's, to others, it can seem very confusing because it can seem like, well, she's trying to be someone else, or that's not how she started out, and she's losing herself. But the thing is, think about this. Think about yourself from decade to decade to decade, right? From your teen years to your 20s to your 30s to your 40s, so on and so on. And as you craft that mental picture of how you looked, what you valued, how you lived, would you not say that there were vast differences between those decades and what was happening in your life, what you were choosing in your life, how it looked? So I don't understand why there is this assumption that somehow, 40s, 50s, it would just kind of stay the same, forever and ever and ever, amen. According to whom? And when you think about the enormous amount of change that's taking place in our lives at this time, when you think about hormonally, which was something that I addressed in the beginning, relationally, marriages, children leaving the house, parents aging, and now, the responsibility of being the caregiver. There is more happening at this time in our lives than ever. How could we not change? How could we not crave, prioritize peace when this time of our lives that was painted as, and I've joked about this a million times, sailing off into the sunset in retirement, it is anything but. Who on earth would ever think that we would be the same and be able to handle all of this consistently and have it look the same and act the same? It's ridiculous. It's false. It's not true. So I, you know, to me, it's about listening. It's about honoring. It's about being unapologetic for what that looks like to the outside. It's about doing so with kindness and grace and respect and truth in your voice. Um, this transformation is profound when you think about the life change that takes place during this season of life and how important it is to feel a sense of peace with who you are in this season, who you are becoming, whose you are in this season, how you are living, how you are loving, how you are giving. It is such a reflective time. It's such a wise time. That's, probably my favorite part of it is the wisdom that has come through in just the past let's say 10 years of clarity. It's so funny. I think we start off in this murky muck of hormone depletion and chaos. And then as time goes by, and there are decisions, and there's searching, and there's seeking, and there is prayer, and it's like we go from the muddy water to the clear water. It's like we went from this giant ocean of murk to this really clear lake. It went from bigger to smaller, darker to lighter, but it's a process to get there. And not a lot of people will understand the process because not everybody gets there. And you probably know a lot of people who are still in the murky, muddy waters. And it leads to a lack of contentment in other people by not doing the work. And then it leads to a lot of criticism toward you who is doing the work. And there can be fallout. There can be fallout in relationships. There can be a fallout in a lack of understanding, a lack of seeing it, a lack of honoring it, respecting it, because it just doesn't look the same as it used to. It looks different. You look different by thinking differently and doing differently and not putting yourself in a box that you used to put yourself in anymore, and being authentic and not caring about societal norms, not caring about Instagram pressure to look a certain way, to follow the trends, I don't know what this is. And this kind of bugs me about midlife, because on one hand, I see this embracing of it. Finally, I see this kind of letting go of these societal norms that I've talked about. A lot of women embracing their gray hair, letting it come in naturally. A lot of women kind of loosening up on makeup or loosening up on this. But here's where I feel that we're missing our mark, is that we're still kind of hanging out in middle school and demanding that others do the same thing. And just because you're going gray, I should go gray. And because you're wearing less makeup, I should wear less makeup. No, that's not how it works. And that's not where peace lies, because that tells me you're not at peace with your decision. Unless it's groupthink and unless everybody else is doing it, well, then I'll be at peace with my decision. No, be at peace with your decision because it's what's best for you, because it's what God planted in you. And if you were the only person to walk that walk and nobody else looked like you or sounded like you or did like you should still feel great about you. That's how I know you're at peace with your decision. But don't make me be like you. I won't make you be like me. I'm just reflecting who I am and what my calling is. That's peace. Peace is in ownership. Peace is unapologetic. Peace is kind, with grace, with lack of judgment. That's where peace is. And that's what I'm asking us all to honor. And that it's going to look different for each and every one of us. And that's great. That's great. God made us unique, beautiful. Why on earth should we look the same, act the same, do the same? I want to see a beautiful tapestry out there, beautiful patchwork of uniqueness, of color, of character. Peace with you and with others, right? Peace be with you. How many times have we heard that? Before I move on to Dear Dominique, I just want to remind you that you do not have to defend your peace. You need to ask yourself, what part of your life is transforming right now, even if others can't see it? How can you honor that process instead of rushing it or explaining it away? How can you support another person in their life journey? I will say, if your peace is offending you, I will say, if your peace is offending people, well, let it. If your silence is being misunderstood, trust it. And if your transformation is being minimized, don't let it. Don't let it. You're too important. And that's my piece on peace. because it is so stinking important. Um, Dear Dominique, I've got a couple of good ones here that kind of play into the subject as well. How do you handle judgmental people and prying personal questions? Also, how do you handle it when a close friend or family member is not really a friend to you and you decide that you're better off without them in order to live life in peace? Um, so, handling judgmental people and prying questions, and this is from Mishka, I believe. What a great name, Mishka. Mishka, I feel like I'm a pro at that. Like I've mentioned, I have handled judgmental people and prying questions. I feel like my entire life, my entire career. I feel like as a person, I've always been a bit of an outlier. I have never been a conformist. I've never fit to anybody's standards, norms, or rules of how things should look, be, said, or done. I have pushed envelopes. I wouldn't say intentionally. I don't set out to, okay, how can I be a disruptor today? I think it's just honoring my nature and my way is a bit disruptive to people. And I have had to live with that and live with the fallout of that. But that's okay because the way I see it, the most important thing is to honor who God made me to be. That's the most important thing. To try to change myself to appease others is denying his creation. It's denying his work. And I'm not about to do that. And so if it means living a life of discomfort, in order to be the authentic person I was made and created to be, then so be it. So I think that you have to rid yourself of the burden that judgment can come with, and you just have to say, there's that expression, other people's opinions of you are not your business. Don't receive it. Don't take it in. Don't wear it. Don't own it. Yeah, you're going to hear it. Yeah, you're going to see it. People will say things to you. They'll write things about you. I mean, there's no way not to be exposed to it, but you get to decide what lives inside you. You get to decide who speaks life over you. Um, my husband and I just read a great book, and it's called When People Are Big and God is Small. And if you're in this space where you feel like the words of others are taking over and there's too much weight and creed and credibility in what other people speak over you as opposed to what God speaks over you, I highly encourage you to read this book. It's a great read. And it's just a reminder of whose voice we need to be listening to. And once you kind of lock that in, it becomes very, very easy. It's like water off a duck's back. You're not getting in. Your words are not going to land. It doesn't matter. It is inconsequential. Now, regarding the friend that you say is not a friend, and you decide you're better off without them to have peace. Well, sometimes hard decisions have to be made, and boundaries have to be put up of what we're going to allow in. And I know, you've heard that expression, people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And some people are there for a season, and maybe that season is coming to a close. There's always a reason. I always look at the why. Why did I bring that person into my life? Why did I choose that? You can learn a lot about yourself in the why. But you can also learn a lot about yourself in the decision of setting limitations. If somebody is encroaching, if somebody is not bringing peace to your life, if that person is stirring the waters and they like to live in discourse and therefore bring you in that place, and that's not where you want to be, there has to be a clear articulation of that. And I think you can do that from a place of kindness, from a place of love and respect, and just say, this is where I am in my life's journey. This is what's important to me. If you are a true friend, I hope, it's my wish that you will honor that, see that, respect it, feel happy for me that I've come to this place. But if you can't, and if you are not going to be accepting of that and who I am, and not going to be a true friend, then I'm sorry. But maybe this relationship has had its season and it's coming to a close. And those are hard conversations to have, but sometimes they have to be had, because there's no point in continuing something because we are afraid of not pleasing. And that's another issue that women deal with, is this disease to please. And we will stay in things far longer, or we will use our voices far less because we're trying to please or appease, or we don't want to stir the waters by being truthful. But what good is that? What kind of a relationship or friendship is that if you're just sucking it up, buttercup, and you're hating it? That's no place to be, and it's not authentic. It's not real. That's another thing that I hear a lot of women this age talk about. Is like, I want real. I want less, but I want real. And I'm with you on that. You don't need a lot, but you need a little bit of real good. So thank you for your question, and I hope that helps. And the last question is, when a friend tells you to be honest and you are, but unfortunately they get offended, should I lie next time to keep the peace? No, you should never lie. But I definitely think there are ways to tell the truth, and there are ways to come from a place of love. So if you know something might be sensitive for somebody to hear, they ask for an opinion, they ask for the truth. I think there are ways to couch things and phrase things so that they can land well. I always believe to start from a place of positivity. So, I'm trying to think of an example, but always start with a compliment. Always start with, I love this about you. I'm glad you asked me that. I really love this about you. I just find that you're so good here and so strong here. And I so admire this about you. And, regarding what you asked, this might be a weaker area for you, or I might not like that as much, or maybe that doesn't suit you as well. And I think that if we are very mindful and sensitive in how we couch things and phrase things, and always come from a place of love and respect, things will land better. Now, sometimes people say they want to hear the truth, but they really don't want to hear the truth. And you are not responsible for how the truth lands. You're only responsible for how you deliver it. But how somebody chooses to receive it and react to it is not your responsibility. And if you feel you came from a place of love and kindness and respect, and it still didn't land well, and there was backlash on you for being truthful, then how can you be in any relationship without being truthful? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells and you have to compromise truth in order to be with somebody to keep the peace, well, that's no real relationship. So it might have you examining that friendship, and discerning if it is based in truth and honesty and integrity, because isn't that what all relationship is about anyway? So I thank you for your questions. I thank you for your desire to be a part of this and the podcast, and to ask me questions. We've got a link, by the way, in every podcast there's always a link for Dear Dominique. If you have any kind of a question that you want to ask me and just kind of get my 2 cents on it, um, I may not be an expert I say this, I may not be an expert in a lot of things, but I am a student of life. I really pay attention to things, and I soak things up, and I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way. And I am so open and willing to share what it is I've learned in my life. And if that can be of any help to anybody, then I think that's awesome. And there are a lot of thought leaders out there, and I love them and I respect them too. But I think that a lot of us, we citizens of life, and we women who are very introspective, and we do the work and we're willing to grow, I think we've got a lot of things to impart as well. And we may not have the PhDs and all of the letters that follow our names, but we've got something to offer. And I'm so grateful for these platforms and these opportunities, to have the conversations, for me to ask the questions of others that I love to ask, for me to be a journalist in a place where I get to talk about content that's meaningful to not only me, but to you too. Grateful for it all. So I ask, if you enjoy this content, if you are listening, wherever you listen to a podcast, please take the time to rate, review, subscribe, and share Over 50 and Flourishing with those that you know and love. That's how we grow this platform. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Please give it a thumbs up if you like the conversation. Subscribe That way, you'll get a notification every Monday when I release a podcast and Thursday when I release a YouTube tutorial, how I started on YouTube in the first place. Still there, still doing it. And of course, the comment section to let me know what you'd like to see from me. But I thank you for being here. Have a blessed week, and I look forward to seeing you next time.